probably many people that will be at Evening of Excellence don't know the history of Missouri Main Street. And so Diane, and there was a few others sitting around the table, but Diane was one of those few people that helped make Main Street what it is today. That started 18 years ago. We sat around a table as very, very small organization, and we had big dreams. So we knew that Main Street could be so much more than what it was currently, with just a few programs involved, and really not support as a true coordinating program as we could see that was happening in states around us. I was also a local manager, just like Diane was. And really there's three of us left that was around that table, and that's Bridget, and I, and Diane. And Diane was one of those forces to be reckoned with. She was a champion just as much as Bridget and I was a champion of this cause.
I met Diane Hannah, I think, in 2001 for the first time. My very first Missouri Main Street meeting. Missouri Main Street was still a subsidiary of the Department of Economic Development, and my executive director at the time couldn't attend. And so I was freshly, graduated from college. 6 weeks later, I get my job at downtown Washington, and within a month or two, I'm at my first Missouri Main Street training in Clinton, Missouri. I grew up wanting to emulate both Diane and Gayla. They really were doing amazing things in their communities, and I was just the sponge, and I wanted to absorb all their knowledge. I always like to talk to Diane about small businesses because she was a small business owner. Her family had a clothing store forever. But when we really started to get serious, we had this big powwow in the bustling metropolis of Clarksville, Missouri.
And there were 7 at the beginning sitting around the table, but even in the 7, there's 10% that does majority of the work. And she was one of that 10%. That did the majority of the work to figure out how to make this something bigger, that we had a lot more communities involved. And it was Diane that helped us from the very beginning as being a merchant in her community, which was a long-standing family business. She knew the importance, what it was to have a Main Street program in Clinton. But a lot of that, I think, really came from, she was part of a family of having a family business for years. And then she became the Main Street director in Clinton. And that's how we originally started working together. And then when she retired from that position, then we reached out and said, hey, come alongside us. We were a staff at that time of 4. And she started working some part-time for us. And, as you learn in Main Street, part-time goes into full-time really, really quickly.
Diane has been a treasured member of our team here at Missouri Main Street for many, many years prior to my joining and being involved. I just think she's delightful. She's so knowledgeable. She's always there and ready to do whatever you need her to do, but she brings that perspective of the long-term board position, of the staff member, of a merchant, being involved in her local community. She just brings so much to it. She's the one who's in the background doing all the things that you need help with, writing the scripts, helping you present well, knowing all the names of everybody and being ready for you. So that's what I've enjoyed so much about working with Diane. We're going to so miss her when she retires, but I know she's got wonderful things to do.
So I first met Diane when I was an executive director for Excelsior Springs. And in fact, I think the first time I met her was when we were attending a director's meeting and workshop in Clinton in her own community. And so she was showcasing and showing all the great things that they were doing in Clinton. So of course, I was very interested in what they were doing and how they were doing it as a newer director. And then of course continued to learn from her as a more seasoned director when I was first getting involved in Main Street. And then she joined us as staff and just really learned the vast knowledge that Diane holds from being a business owner, from being a Main Street director, to being a Missouri Main Street board member. She brought all of that to the job as she helped us grow as a Main Street program, as a coordinating program She has a vast knowledge and great organizational skills, and she's been a great asset for us.
I have to say, she always makes me laugh. Diane has this dry sense of humor that even when she's looking you straight in the eye with a serious face, you have to think about what she's saying because it might be a dig, it might be something humorous. So I've always enjoyed her, and I find her as still a go-to person. So Main Street wouldn't be what Main Street is here in Missouri without Diane. There are others like Gayla and Bridget, and et cetera, and all those sisters again. And does Diane have all those sisters too? And she does. That said, I really always have enjoyed her. Hard work. We sat down this morning even and went over my two of my presentations. She had them all written out. We worked out the details, and she said, "I know you'll put your touch to it, but here you go." So all that hard work really pays off, and Diane's just great about it.
So I've known Diane a long time, and really, I think pretty much since I got involved in Main Street. And so she was one of those executive directors and communities that we really looked up to when we were starting our program in Cape Girardeau. And so I remember going to national meetings with her and being impressed with her and her board and all the cool things that were going on, and just really that early inspiration. And I got to work with Diane a little more closely when I joined the board of Missouri Main Street. Really kind of brought me into the sort of the statewide engagement and involvement, and then just a great board member, I think instrumental in really helping us create the program that we have today. Tremendous resource, inspiration, and a good friend.
So I first met Diane as an intern. She was on the advisory board with MMSC, and I have known her my entire time with Missouri Main Street. And she has always been the person too that you could go to ask questions, and I have worked very closely with Diane through grant work. And so that is really where our bond has formed. And my favorite thing with Diane, and the funny thing about Diane is I love to make her just laugh, just cry laughing. That with grant writing we get to where we're trying to come up with a word and you start just throwing anything out there, anything that will stick. No suggestion is a bad suggestion, and so you start throwing out really bad suggestions. And so just cry laughing when a deadline comes due, you're working late. And that is my favorite thing to get Diane to do, to work with her, and that knowledge has been really valuable to me.
When I first came to Main Street in 2006, Diane was already an established part of Main Street. And so I really, to me, Diane and Main Street are synonymous. And so I've been a part of Main Street now since 2006. And I just can't remember a time that I didn't know Diane since then. And she was kind of a role model for me, and really someone that I respected and looked up to and could ask questions of. But she's really also someone who, we talk about Main Street being a family. I always know Diane has my back.
Not really. I don't want her to retire. I mean, she wants to retire, which she should. She's put in, this amazing breadth of work, not only in Clinton, but she has, profoundly affected the state of Missouri, small businesses, historic properties, special events, and, thousands upon thousands of volunteers. And the state of Missouri is really lucky that Diane Hannah stepped up and said that she would participate.
It's 18 years. Did we ever believe that we would have 180 communities wanting to follow Main Street? And Diane's definitely part of that success. I was not going to cry. And so we just want to say thank you to Diane, because she had a dream, and we're all here today because she helped make that dream a reality.